There was a property that has hit my desk today that we are buying for a client today. And that's exactly the same sort of the work. There is a house at the front that has been slightly renovated. It's 1,000 square meter lot. And you could potentially, build a rooming house at the back. And I was like, wow, this is just amazing, right? So, you can, carve up the place, build something at the back, subdivide it, build something at the back, ultimately lift up the yield. And so I think this was priced at, from memory, about $450,000. You can carve up the balance of the land and sell that for 300, and you would have what, $150,000, $200,000, in loan for the front house, which would be renting at probably like $550 per week, right? And that's just, it's just a smart way to, carve, get the money, reduce the LVR, go back in and do it again, right? So these strategies are amazing, and you can mix and match them, and it's a perfect sort of opportunity. I think one thing that we need to dive a bit more deeper into is renovating in the luxury space. You can talk about renovations, that cost $600 to $1 million, same as, building a brand new house, right?
Yes.
And so why do those renovations work? Let's talk a bit about that, Cheryl.
Yeah, and I'll share in our the experience that we've had, where in those situations where I found it, we had to go through a DA process, so it was quite major renovations. However, you are creating, whether it's extra rooms or extra space, particularly when we used to live in Sydney, so you have houses that are a bit smaller, terraces or whatever. They end up, they might only have 2 bedrooms, and then you do a major renovation where you're adding 3 bedrooms, and then all of a sudden you've created a 5-bedroom mansion type thing. Like, it increases the value significantly. However, then also creates a product which is fairly unique and new in an area which might not be a particularly new area. So it becomes incredibly when you're talking about that, then yes, there is a higher level of risk, I see, because you have to deal with planning. You got to deal with sort of larger construction timelines and costs. So there's potential for sort of blowouts as well.
Definitely.
And sometimes you do look at, you have to weigh it up, depending on the extent of the renovation. Is it actually cheaper for you, or is it actually better value to knock down and rebuild?
Yeah.
Also.
Yeah. And you make an amazing point. I think a lot of people, when they think about renovation, they always tend to overcapitalize because they see themselves living in the house, and they see themselves, with all these, extra bells and whistles that they want in the house. Renovation is all about the maximum value for the minimum spend. It's not so much about, I need a super energy efficient home with all the AI stuff. That's not what renovation is about. Renovation is about, for every dollar that I'm spending, am I getting 10x back, 15x back, 20x? What does that X looks like, from a renovation perspective? And so naturally your thinking always is, even if I change this shower head or this basin, do I need to? Would it add any value? Would the buyer walking through the house appreciate this and be emotionally attached to this bloody toilet seat, right? And pay me an extra money, right? That's what a renovator truly thinks about. And so I've seen people numerous number of times going through this cycle of emotionally getting attached themselves and overcapitalizing. I have a typical example of this particular guy that I spoke to. Beautiful property, amazing price point that he bought, and he should have not spent more than $60,000 on the property, but ended up spending about $120,000, right? And then he brings it out to the market thinking, oh, wow, it's such a wow house. And people are like, well, I can buy a brand new place for that sort of money. So why would I pay you similar amount of money, right? And so you need to understand that while your renovation may look brand new, feel brand new, people have interest in the house, that everyone can see when the house was bought and what the old pictures look like. And if you are doing a quick and dirty renovation within 6 months or 3 months or 2 months, there is always this sense of conservatism that, it must be a bought job, or, they might have just done it on the face value cosmetically. They might not have gutted the house completely. And so, that would take away the price. And so people would not pay through the heart in some of these areas, So you need to understand that, there is a price discrepancy when you compare a renovated site to a brand new site.